Technology and Tech Forum. This is Python for Network Engineer Part 2. In this video, we are going to see how to work with Jupyter Notebook or Jupyter IDE. Jupyter Lab is the latest web-based interactive development environment for notebooks, code, and data. Its flexible interface allows users to configure and arrange workflow in data science, scientific computing, computational journalism, and machine learning. So as you can see, this is an IDE heavily used for AI and data science, and that's what we are going to use throughout our course. So let's see what we have in agenda. We are going to see how to work with Jupyter Notebooks, how to use Jupyter Markdown for documentation purposes, and finally, what is a magic function. So pretty crisp agenda here. In last video, we deployed our Anaconda, and now you can just go to your Anaconda virtual environment and type in Jupyter Notebook. As you type Jupyter Notebook, it will launch a program on your web UI, and it will look something like this. So localhost colon 8888, that will spun up a process on your local host, and that's where the Jupyter Notebook starts. You can go to respective folders where you have your data and notebooks or Python program installed. You can go to that directory from here. What else you can do? You can upload something. If you want, you can upload new commands or new scripts, other things. At the same time, you can start a new notebook, and this is going to be Python 3 IPy As you do that, a new notebook will be launched, and we are going to see how, and whenever you launch a new playbook or notebook, they'll be marked as untitled. So this is my untitled notebook. Let's give it some title to start with. I'm going to say introduction. So this is our Jupyter introduction notebook. Here you can see we have few things: file, edit, view, insert. So it works on cells. So you can add cell manually by clicking plus sign. You can delete cell by clicking the scissor. You can clone cell, and you can also move cell up and down. Like for example, if I want to say insert cell above, I can insert that cell. I can move the cell up and down, and I can delete that cell. Kernel, this is something you need to know. So what happens when you type something in the cell? You can use that cell as a code, that means Python code, or you can use markdown language, which we will discuss next, or you can just simply use NB convert. But basically we will toggle between code and markdown, because code is something what we are interested in to write, and at the same time we will use markdown to produce documentations. All right, so let's understand what is a markdown. Markdown is a language which comes handy for documentation purposes, and as you can see, there are certain semantics associated with markdown, and I have jotted down a few here which will come handy. So as you can see, if you want to write a code, you can use this open brackets or open quotes, and between open quotes you can write your code. Then with one exclamation sign, one hashtag, you can use, or index sign or hashtag, whatever you say, between two hashtags, it is your heading. If you decide to use two, then it will be a subheading, and then if you use three, subheading. With underscore, you can produce italics. With two asterisks, you can, with two opening and closing asterisks, you can use bold. With one asterisk, you can produce bullet point or list. With numbers 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, you can enumerate. This is for block quotes. And then if you have to insert some hyperlink, then you can use link test in the bracket, or in the bracket you can use your URL. So this is the sample I'm going to show you. So I selected this cell and I'm going to select, since this is not a code, this is markdown. I'm going to select it as markdown and hit run. As you can see, this becomes a code. We'll do the same thing to test this. Now you see this is converted as this is heading. Let's continue doing the other one so that we can prove that this is semantics are working as expected. And this is available as a cheat sheet uploaded to S3 bucket. You can download that. It has the required permission. The link is in description. All right. So this is what you can use, markdown languages, what you can use for your documentation purposes as you write your code. Then let's discuss something called magic function. So in Python, IPython or in Jupyter, we have a function called magic. And if you list just magic and run this as a code, not markdown, this is a code. If you run this as a code, you will see IPython's magic function. This is like a man page for magic, and it has all the details here. You can obviously look at it and read through it by expanding in another window. The magic function provides a series of functions which allow you to control the behavior of IPython itself, plus a lot of system type features. So it has a lot of inbuilt packages which you can use to quickly use that in your code. And we will see one or two of them here. If you do all the magic functions, they start with percentage sign. So if you do percentage and ls magic, it is going to list all the magic aliases or magic's extensions available. We have alias, we have auto wait, load, move, more, and all of them, and then some of them are cell. Like for example, and also look at this, auto magic is on, so percentage prefix is not needed for line magics. So if you decide to use these functions, which are line magic function, you don't have to suffix prefix percentage. For example, pwd is a magic function, and if I type pwd in one of the cell and run this, you can see it is telling me where I am, what is my current directory or path. Now this is all about markdown and magic function. Now if you are ready to run your code, what you can do, you can create a cell by clicking on first plus sign and try to run a code or a function. So for example, take an example of this function. If trigger colon, then print I am triggered, else print never mind. As you can see, why we want to use IDE, because it helps us to write efficient programs and take care of the tab and spacing and other semantics. So for example, let me write this code one more time. If I enter here, as you can see, I am indexed to the end because it's not a function. But if I put a it's a colon here and put enter, you see I'm getting the right indentation. That's the power of IDE. It helps you identify the right indentation, semantics, etc. So let me just put it back. And this is one of our sample function. So let me run this function. As I run this function, you see we got an error or a traceback. Traceback is saying if trigger, name trigger is not defined. Why? Because in this function, when you run this function, it is only looking at this cell or this block. Within this block, we are using trigger as a variable, but this variable is not declared anywhere, and hence you are seeing this error. That means this block of function is dependent on previous, but when you hit run, it's only running the block or cell you have selected. It's not run everything. So how you can run everything? Either you can go to kernel and say restart and run all. So it will run all my cells here. Or what you can do, you can first run the previous block, which is trigger is true. Nothing happened because we didn't expect any output from here. Now let's go back and trigger function 18. Now you see, because trigger was true and that previous function ran, then I'm getting the required output. That is, I am triggered. Now this is a good baseline to start our writing our programs, especially on data science and ML. We will have a Python refresher program first, and then we'll go ahead and write some matplotlib and seaborn kind of programs. So stay with me. Thank you.